How are we doing, ladies and gentlemen? My name is Wolf, and today I'm going to be coming at you with some Disenchanter Mesmer. This is going to be the top build on Meta Battle right now, and a build you're going to see probably be blowing you up in higher tier as PvP. This build is run by most Mesmers unless they run the Condition Mirage variant, which I will be covering at some point in the near future. I haven't learned how to play that just yet, but I have learned how to play Disenchanter Mesmer, and you can do a ton of damage with it with just doing some very basic setups. And after about an hour or two of discovery, I was able to beat my Scourge Necromancer friend, which I wasn't able to do with my Spellbreaker, which I had about 20 hours plus experience on, so that kind of amazed me. So we're going to cover pretty much everything: the specializations, the sigils, the runes, the abilities, and the DPS combos. And then there will be a gameplay video, which you can get a link to in the description if you want to go there now, or that will be in the end card. Now, excuse me while I move really quick, get a little more comfortable, and let's go into the PvP build, shall we? We're going to be using staff and sword shield. Now, I have tried to do a little bit of experimentation with switching weapons and that sort of thing. I found that greatsword works in place of the staff. It's not as good because I've learned more tricks with staff, as well as I've learned kind of how to do the big damage combo, or I've modified it my own way. So I personally like staff, and I feel like this combo is just kind of unswitchable, but if you want to put greatsword here, you can put greatsword here. Now, just to cover some of the weapon abilities, let me zoom out here. The vital ones for your staff is going to be the third ability, which is going to summon 2 illusions that deal damage and inflict vulnerability. And then the second ability is going to be vital as well, which is decoy. Teleports you back. Now, if you have an about face hotkey set up, although I don't use about face, I just turn my camera around. So if you spin your camera, you can actually teleport in the direction that you want to go with it. So you can do things like, to cover a lot of distance, let's try and get up there really quickly, shall we? You can teleport and then blink, right? Pretty easy to get to your home point as a Mesmer, extremely fast off of the start. Now, one more notable ability on staff is going to be staff 5. Any ability that gets cast in this circle will instantly daze the target, so you can use it to cancel massive abilities, like if you can predict that like a point blank shot's gonna come, or a warrior F1 is gonna come, then you can daze it with your 5th ability. And this is also a swiftness field, so drop it at the start of a game and you can speed up your whole team. Now on to sword shield. Notable abilities here is going to be pretty much everything, with sword 3 kind of taking a back seat. Sword 2, you are invulnerable during this whole frame here. Now, I did watch a video once that showed that you can do some kind of major trickery with your second ability, which is that you get like a first frame of activation, but if you do it and then you stow your weapon, you can game an evade frame on like a shorter cooldown or something like that. But I don't have weapon stow bound like that, so I can't really do that sort of trick and showcase it for you, nor do I really practice it, but still. If you want to improve at Mesmer, that is a way to do it. But while you're doing your sword 2, you are invulnerable the whole way through. It has a nice defensive component and actually does a shit ton of damage as well, just for an ability that's mainly used defensively. It does a lot of damage. Now on to the other main abilities. Your 4th ability is going to be an all block. This is exceptional. The only thing that will hit you is conditions that are already applied to you. So this stops condition application, power damage, and, well, pretty much anything else. Now, it doesn't reflect projectiles or anything like that. It's not as good as like a warrior block, for example, but it does have a few different components to it, which is if you hit the ability and if you're in combat, it'll send out a phantasm, which you can actually do a couple tricks with. I'll show you it in just a second once it comes off cooldown. But if you end up blocking something, then you can actually block again. So you can get, how long does this last for? I'm not entirely sure exactly how long the spell lasts, but you can get like up to 6 seconds worth of block just from getting it again. Now I'm going to show you what I mean here. So if you're in if you're in combat, you will get an illusory Avenger right there, who will go do his damage and then become a clone. And of course, if you block, then that will reset, and you can do that all over again. And your 5th ability is going to send out a daze/stun both ways. So this move is exceptional, and you get some Alacrity at the end. Also, I mean, it blocks missiles. I haven't really used it for that yet. There's so much with Mesmer, man. There really is. Okay, that's the weapon set covered, and all of the useful abilities. Sword 3 is pretty self-explanatory. You can send out a dude, and you press the button again, you swap to the dude, and you swap spots with him. So pretty useful to cover distance if you need to. Okay, abilities done. PvP build. So sigils, we're going to be going with, let's start with the staff. We got Revocation and Energy. You're going to be switching quite frequently, so Sigil of Energy is exceptional. More dodges, more survivability, 10 out of 10. Watch my dodging video, and you will get even more value out of this sigil. Now, Revocation is going to be Disenchanter Mesmer, obviously. We're removing boons. We're doing a ton of damage from boon removal. And it also makes it so that people can't really stop our massive damage combos, which is fantastic. So, of course, on hit, remove a boon, 10-second cooldown. It's more boon removal. I'm not going to really argue with that. We got Energy, and we have Annulment on the Sword Shield. So you're going to be starting on Staff, which is why you take this one on the Sword Shield, which is going to be Annulment. Your next attack, after swapping to this weapon while in combat, will remove 2 boons from your target. 18-second cooldown. It's going to be about 18-ish, 18 to 20 seconds between weapon swaps, as opposed to just mashing weapon swaps. Normally, I stick on the same weapon for a decent amount of time, actually. I don't, like, overly swap like I do with Warrior, for example. So this is up most of the time that you'll switch to Sword, which is quite nice. Moving down to the Elite here, which I think there's a different one for this, but this was like my ghetto variant because I didn't feel like paying 10 gold, even though I have more than enough money, which is Rune of Alyssa. Now, for the reason is the 6-piece. I can actually speak English. When you're using an elite skill, you convert up to 5 conditions on you into boons. Now, this is like a ghetto version, but a version that I prefer personally, because this actually allows you to remove 5 conditions whenever you use Gravity Well. Now, there's a trick that you can do, well, not really a trick, but you can get 2 Gravity Wells. Now, you can't proc this twice, sadly, but you can do a ton of damage in CC with this, and you're going to be using it pretty frequently in team fights. So if you get Condi bombed by a Necro, and then you go to CC the rest of his damage, when you CC the rest of his damage, you're going to remove all of his damage he's already applied to you, which is exceptional all around. So let me just show you that trick real fast. Or it doesn't matter what weapon set you're on. Essentially, you're going to use Continuum Split to do this. And what you're going to do is you're going to start casting Gravity Well, and at the last second of Gravity Well, you're going to hit Continuum Split, and then you can Continuum Split back and cast Gravity Well again. So let me show you that right now at the very end. And now you can pretty much do whatever, and you've got Gravity Well up again. And thus you have 2 Gravity Wells, like so. It does put Continuum Split on cooldown. There is some crazy damage setups you can do with Continuum Split, but I haven't really figured them out myself yet. That's just what I've reliably been going with, and it does a lot of CC, and it's won quite a few games. Alright, now the actual one I believe recommended in the build is Rune of Leadership, which is going to give you boon duration, which is why this is so vital here. It's because boon duration gives you Alacrity, longer Alacrity rather, which means that all your abilities come back faster. Pretty self-explanatory, pretty damn amazing. This gives you 30% boon duration. Pretty good. And then it also gives you the same 6-piece as Lissa, except it does it for all of your allies as well, but it's only 2 conditions. So if you're a greedy fucker like I am, Lissa is a better option for you. But if you like team play and boon duration, then Leadership is good as well. Alright, now moving on to the Amulet, which I accidentally closed. Demolisher's Amulet is pretty basic, is what I like to go for. Power, precision, toughness, ferocity. You can maybe play Berserker if you want to. You could probably get away with it. I haven't yet. I haven't tried playing Berserker. I actually quite like having a toughness on this. Because to me, if you haven't heard this spiel before, essentially toughness is a lot better than any form of vitality boost, so long as I'm not playing Thief. Because heals don't scale off of percentage health. So the less health that I have and the more mitigation that I have, the more value I'm getting, right? So the only way to scale your healing, notice how this thing has almost 6k healing. The only way to scale that is from healing power. So if you don't get any healing power, basically increasing your vitality pool is almost pointless. Because yes, it can be useful in some scenarios, but all it does is it just means they have another 7k health to go through. As opposed to, you could mitigate that 7k health in toughness instead, and have your heal do about 50% of your health instead of 25% of your health. It's pretty simple. But because of that, I like Demolisher Amulet, but you probably could get away with some Berserker shenanigans. It also gives you a bit higher crit chance, but I mean, it's already at coin flip range, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Demolisher, Berserkers, I mean, Marauders exists, but it's not worth it. But yeah. Okay. Now that's all covered. Let's go into the specialization, shall we? We're going to be running Inspiration, Chaos, and Chronomancer. Now, some of the minors and things I don't really experiment with much, so I'm going to skip over all the minors and just talk about the large ones and the impact they have in gameplay. So starting with our Inspiration first one, which is Phantasms take your conditions when they are first summoned. Now this is going to be really useful just all around. It's more Condi clear, let's be honest. The meta at the moment revolves around who can do the most damage while still maintaining insane Condi clear, and that's why Mesmer is on top at the moment, weirdly enough. But still. So, just straight up Condi clear that is pretty accessible, considering you're going to be making Phantasms regularly. You can do a lot of damage with, or a lot of damage removal and damage mitigation with a sympathetic visage. God, words are hard some days, you know. Alright, then Restorative Illusions. Heal yourself and lose conditions. There's a Condi removal again. Whenever you use a Shatter skill, you use Shatter skills all the time. Your Shatter skills are your F1 through 5s here. And you're going to be using these all the time, I promise you. Considering the burst combo that I do at the start of a fight does 2 of them instantly, then that pretty much puts it into perspective. Moving on to the last one is Summoning a Phantasm casts a lesser Signet of Inspiration and grants might to nearby allies. Every 30 seconds you get a random boon, and you get some extra might. It's alright. Moving down to Chaos, we have Illusionary Defense, helps if I read it. Gain stacking damage reduction whenever you summon an illusion. There's illusions coming out the ass, especially using mirror images, which I've made a switch to personally. There is a different way to play it, which I'll cover in just a little bit. But you are going to be summoning a lot of stuff and have this pretty much 5 stack the whole time, being 10% extra damage reduction. Always nice. And moving down, we have Chaos Armor grants protection, Staff and Trident skills gain reduced recharge. Of course, this is here so that you can use your Staff abilities more frequently, because Staff is vital to the damage rotation, as well as whenever you hit Chaos Armor, your 4th ability, you get some protection. On-demand protection for a rather average ability, but still, I'll take it. Now, where were we? We were right here. Gains ability when you use a Shatter skill. This is how you secure your stomps. This is why it's always nice to save at least one Shatter for when you're going to stomp someone. It doesn't matter which one it is, because they all give you stability on Shatter. It doesn't register it there. But whenever you press it, you will get stability and a different boon based on whichever Shatter you use. So there's a nice list there. But I don't really keep track of all of that. So you get resistance whenever you continuum split. That's just nice, and kind of is going to happen passively, which is even more beneficial for when I was talking about the Gravity Well, continuum split Gravity Well, which means that when you go to cast your Gravity Well, it removes them, and then you get resistance for any that get applied to you, and then you come back, and, well, there you go. You can drop, well, you can't drop 5 more, actually. I'm overthinking myself sometimes. But still, nice and wonderful, as always. Moving down to Chronomancer, this is where I've made a change personally, because there's 2 separate ways to actually play this build, which is going to be down at the end here, but we'll get to that in just a second. So we've got Time Catches Up. Actually, I think I've made a change here as well. You got Time Catches Up, which is activating a Shatter, gives your illusions super speed. Shatters deal increased damage to movement impaired foes. Now, the one that the build recommends you take is Delayed Reactions, which is interrupting a foe, slows them, and grants you Alacrity, Now, this is fantastic, especially if you start learning how to use diversion correctly. So you can start dazing heals and dazing big casts. Then this is going to be fantastic. Free Alacrity and more slows. Slows are really, really powerful in this game. But personally, I like to use time catches up because this means that when you hit your burst buttons, they're going to all happen pretty much on demand. Because if you don't know, when you spawn a bunch of illusions and you hit a shatter, all of your illusions have to run at the target. So if they're like out of line of sight or really far away, or you've put your illusions in Narnia for some reason, and then you hit your mind rack or your cry of frustration, they all have to run in on them. And if they run in with no swiftness, no super speed, they go really slow and they are really easy to dodge. Now, if you get better at Mesmer and you get better at placing your illusions, then delayed reactions will be fantastic for you. But if you're having issues with people dodging all of your mind rack bursts and all that sort of thing, time catches up is going to be where you're going to want to make the switch. Now, moving on, we have improved Alacrity. Self-explanatory. Essentially, the window to get Alacrity removed is a lot less. I don't even remember if you can get Alacrity removed, but essentially, it just doubles how fast Alacrity does things, which is quite nice. You just get abilities back faster. Self-explanatory. Now, at the end here is where I've made a personal change, which is in Seize the Moment, which is gain quickness for each clone you shatter. Of course, I said you shatter quite a bit, and you're going to be shattering 6 in your opening burst, so that's 6 seconds worth of quickness. Also makes life a lot easier. Now, the recommendation is to play Chrono Phantasma, which can do a shit ton of damage. I'm not gonna lie, it can do a metric shit ton of damage. But it doesn't work works so easily with my damage setup, but it can do a ton of work. So I'm gonna show you my damage setup, and then I'm gonna show you Chrono Phantasma, kind of attempting to do the same thing. It just slows down what is already a really fast combo. So, in your abilities here, we're going to have Signet of the Ether, which heals you whenever you summon an illusion passively, or you can use it to heal yourself and recharge your Phantasm skills, which is going to bring back your Phantasmal Disenchanter. It's going to take 15 seconds off of the cooldown, no matter what the cooldown is. So if it's at 7 seconds, if it's at 14 seconds even, if you hit Signet of the Ether, it will recharge it entirely. It's not based off of what the cooldown is at the time, which is quite nice. Blink, self-explanatory, we covered Gravity Well before. And Mirror Images is going to just make 2 clones for you and break stun. This is a fantastic ability that I use pretty much all the time. Now, build recommendations wise, I believe it was Well of Recall? I think it was Recall. Which is Alacrity and Chill. It's alright. But it doesn't allow you to do this sort of damage combo. So let me show you the setup. Essentially, we're going to start on Staff, and we're going to go with Staff 3 into your third ability, which will be Phantasmal Disenchanter. For me, it is on Q. And then after we do that, we are going to teleport on top of them with Blink, hit Shatter in... Oh, wait, no. I'm screwing up my own combo here. That's the setup, right? So we start off with these two, and then we hit Mirror Images, Decoy, and then Blink on top of them for damage. Have his health gone. Alright, let me do that again because I've buggered that completely. Okay, so you start off with your Staff 3, which is going to start summoning 2 illusions. But the thing about illusions is when they get summoned, they have a wind-up period, alright? So you see, while he's doing this staff attack, I can't shatter him even if I wanted to. He has to finish that full staff animation before he becomes a shatterable illusion down here. So, because of that, we have a time period where we can do other things before we have access to this burst damage, right? Now, Phantasmal Disenchanter is going to be the exact same, but it's only going to summon 1. Now notice how you have a 3 illusion cap here, right? So we're going to start up with this, and then go into Phantasmal Disenchanter as well, which then gets 3 illusions doing their damage, which is going to fill this meter up. Now, while these guys are doing their animations, we can use Mirror Images and Phase Retreat, which is going to let us get 3 decoys, or 3 illusions instantly, which we can then Blink Shatter, and then as we Blink Shatter and they run in, then all of the other ones proc into illusions, and then you can double shatter on top with Cry of Frustration. While it's not exactly a second Mind Rack, it is still damage. So let me actually show you how to do this right now. You're gonna hit our third ability, into our Phantasmal Disenchanter, into Blink, and there we go. Well, now we've got 2 left, and then we can Cry Frustration. They'll run in, do some damage, and your boy is pretty much dead. I can't exactly commentate the combo fast enough, because my brain works faster than my mouth does. But it's Phantasmal Warlock, Phantasmal Disenchanter, Mirror Images, Decoy, and then Blink on top, Mind Rack, and Cry Frustration. So I'll show you that one more time. Watch the abilities on the bar very, very closely. And then they all come in, and there's all of your extra clones. Alright, that is going to be the basics of the burst combo. Now, a few other different setups are just going to be setting up your phantasms at the right time and knowing when you've got 2 and when you've got 1 in the works. So a really easy combo that you can do as well is, if you don't have Phantasmal Disenchanter up, for example, but you're still on staff, is you can just hit your Illusory Warlocks, get them doing damage, drop like a Chaos Storm to try and bait out an ability, and now as they've come up, you can hit your Decoy, and now you've got 3 illusions like so. Right? Pretty simple Mesmer sort of stuff. Now, there is one trick that I learned that is pretty interesting, which is if you're in melee range on staff, you can actually do a point blank shatter during your decoy teleport if you do it fast enough, like so. If you hit your phase retreat button and your shatter just fast enough, you can hit it before you teleport back. So just a little bit of a trick there for you. So if you're in melee range, you can surprise some people with that. So don't use Mind Rack for that sort of setup. Use like your diversion to daze a heal. Say someone's on top of you, you can, if done right, get a nice daze instantly and get some nice mobility in there. So that is going to round out our guide to Disenchanter Mesmer. Stay tuned for the gameplay portion, which is going to be in the end screen, or, of course, as I said at the start, in the description. We're going to pop over to that now, and as always, take care, lads.
So heaven if you sent us down, so we can never play around.